UFC Director of Operations here in Canada, Tom Wright, with us just hours away from UFC 154 as you guys return to the Bell Center. It's been a long wait, and Tom, a phenomenal turnout here for the weigh-ins, and you certainly are feeling that buzz right now. Here we are just over 24 hours away from the big event, UFC 154.
You know, Montreal is always a great city at any time, and I tell you, the buzz in the city is fabulous. Everybody's so excited about George's return, but as you know, there's like 9 other Canadians on this card. The Bell Center is going to be incredibly loud, incredibly full, and they're going to be great fights tomorrow night.
I was speaking to, I was at one bar this past week, and they were just telling me that on Saturday night, he was telling me, we can't get enough tables and chairs to accommodate the demand we expect Saturday night. A lot of bars hurting right now with the NHL lockout. It feels that this return, yes, great that George is back just for UFC business, but there's a lot of businesses that are looking at this as a really high point right now for Montreal sports.
There's no question. I mean, actually, the numbers are, we will have over 3 times the average number of bars that we have in Quebec have signed up for this fight. It gives you a sense as to how important it is to their businesses, to the economy, to everything that goes on in this city. It's a great sports town. They miss hockey, obviously, but they're going to get some great fights and great sports on Saturday night.
I know you guys have announced that March 16th is your return date here. Is the chance of the NHL losing its season, did that at all kind of hurry up the process to have a set date returning? Does that play anything into your scheduling? Because I know you guys announced that you are going to be running every March, but I'm just curious if we could maybe see some more Canadian dates because of what you mentioned right there, of just how much of an appetite there is for this audience. And with no hockey, it's kind of an inroads right now, I think, with fighting a natural substitute.
Yeah, there's no question, but truthfully, it had nothing to do with it. We actually announced that we were going to be coming to March every year in Montreal, and September every year in Toronto. We announced that back at UFC 149 in Calgary. So long before, you know, I think we might have announced it just, you know, after the Stanley Cup playoffs last spring. So it had nothing to do with
right. I guess my better question would have been if there was going to be that 15-month delay, it was always March 2013. You'd be doing this show in November and then back in March. Absolutely.
So the hockey thing had nothing to do with it. But you know, we're happy to fill that sports void. We think we got great athletes. We know we do. We know this. Our events are as exciting as you'll ever see. And the Bell Center is loud for a Habs game. It's going to be loud for the fights on Saturday night.
Now, I'm also curious, an interesting venue here with New City Gas. I understand it was Bob Dylan forced, the Bell Center was kind of taken on Friday. How did you guys find this venue? Because obviously very unique if people have been to weigh-ins and open workouts in the past.
Well, you know, if you go from the Bell Center, which is about 1 kilometer north, and like a rolling stone, you just take your time coming down to here, it had that kind of real sense of serendipity that we'd end up here. Yes. We couldn't be happier. It's been a great venue. You saw there was a great crowd here. They're excited for George's return, but they're excited to see Patrick Cote, excited to see Sam Stout, they're excited to see Francis Carmont. There's going to be some great fights, and so we're happy to be here, and we'll probably come back.
You're the guy that hears the most from the audience. You guys were scheduled to come back here in March. I mean, how antsy has this Montreal audience been for the UFC to return? Because I think that this is such a hungry market right now that you probably have been hearing it firsthand in the anticipation for this event.
Yeah, well, it's been 2 years since we were here. UFC 124 was in December of 2010. And we're almost 2 years later, so we've been a couple of years outside of this market, and so the people wanted it back, and I mean at the same time they wanted to see George back, and you know, having George in this card obviously helps, but in the end it's a great MMA market, it's a great UFC market, and evidence of that is we're going to be back here in March of next year, so we're happy.
As he mentioned, 10 Canadians on this card, UFC 154. Georges St-Pierre returning after 19 months. Also going to see Patrick Cote, a man who once upon a time had knee surgery and also missed 19 months. So there's a bit of a trivia note. UFC 154, 10 p.m. Eastern on pay-per-view, and the fights kick off on Facebook, 6:15 p.m. Eastern time. Always appreciate the time. Tom, thank you very much.
Anytime, and thanks for all your support for our sport.
Great, thank you, Tom.